How do you fix a broken relationship? This is extremely important. Every single person in their life, at some point in time, you are in a relationship, whether it is a sexual relationship, whether it is a friendship relationship, a business relationship. Everybody has relationships all the time. And sometimes they get broken. How do you fix them? My name is Rabbi Shmuel Kopel, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to speak to you and tell you the three major steps that you will always need to achieve forgiveness and to fix a broken relationship. This isn't any relationship between two people. It is also, interestingly, the same formula to get forgiveness from God or the universe, karma, whatever you want to call it. But people very often feel that they've wronged the planet, they've wronged the universe, they've wronged God. And it is important for a person to feel that they are in a good relationship with the greater reality as well. And these three steps are very important for all of these things. Okay, every person that I know and that I met have dealt with these struggles in their lives, and I believe you watching this video have also dealt with this struggle in your life, and I think that the ideas that I'm going to share can be extremely helpful for you. But before we get into it, I want to just ask you a small favor. I like to feel that people appreciate my videos, and by you subscribing, if you haven't yet done it, it will definitely show me a sense of appreciation. It will also allow you to know every time I upload a new video. So right down below, there's a subscribe button. If it says subscribed, means you already subscribed. But if it just says subscribe without the D at the end, then it means you didn't yet subscribe. Click that button. As soon as you do, there will be a bell will appear. Click the bell as well. You'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Without further ado, let's understand how to achieve forgiveness and how to fix a broken relationship. Before I begin, I want to tell you a story that is a biblical story, or I would say kind of biblical story. It's related in the Talmud about the time of the temple, and it will illustrate some of the major points that you need to achieve forgiveness. There was at the time, Israel was being controlled by the Romans. The Romans would appoint a governor of Israel, which was pretty much like a little king. They had the right to do whatever they want. They can kill people. They can punish people. They could do whatever they want in the land of Israel. They were like a miniature king, but of course they had to pay taxes and they were under the command of the Roman king. These people were appointed by the Romans. Sometimes they were locals, sometimes they were not. There was one particular person who was appointed governor who actually his father, I believe, was Jewish, but his mother wasn't. So he was partially Jewish, partially Roman, and he was appointed governor. At one point at a time, he felt that the nation of Israel, the Jewish religion, was trying to rebel against the Romans, and at any chance they had, they would pretty much gather together and fight the Romans. In order to prevent this from happening, he went out and wiped out every single one of the Torah scholars. Okay, I believe he killed most priests as well in the temple. I don't remember the story 100%. It is in the Talmud if you want to look it up. And he basically wiped out anybody that would strengthen the nation of Israel and the religion of Judaism and their connection to the Almighty God, the creator of the universe. There was one great sage who was left alive, and this particular governor came to the sage and tried to prove himself right. He was feeling guilty. He felt maybe I killed all these people for nothing. But he says, you know what, I'm going to prove myself right. And he went dressed as a normal person. You couldn't tell he was this governor. He went to this great sage, and he started speaking bad about the Roman people, about the Roman rulership. He wanted to get the sage to basically agree with him and say, yes, the Romans are horrible, and let's take them over, and let's try to kill them if we have a chance. That's what he wanted the sage to say, so that he could alleviate his own guilt and say and use that as evidence that he in fact made the right decision. Unfortunately for this particular governor, the sage says, "Well, why are you speaking bad about the Romans? Right now, they're ruling the country, and as of now, it's peaceful, and I don't see any issues. At the time, at least, there was no issues." And he says, "I don't see why you're just insulting them for no reason. It's the wrong thing to do, and as a matter of fact, we are commanded in the country, right? That's still today, the Jewish people are commanded to respect the ruling government in the country." And he felt that this person was insulting the government for no good reason. Now, obviously, this particular governor had a problem. He was guilty. He felt really guilty. He's like, uh-oh, I just harmed the Jewish people, destroyed them. I killed them. I killed their leaders and their sages and their scholars. And he's like, I killed them unjustly. And he was feeling extremely guilty. And he actually admitted to the sage that he was, in fact, this governor and that he was only trying to test the sage. And he asked the sage, he says, how can I fix what I've done? I've done a horrible thing. I've killed so many of the great sages and the rabbis and the priests and anybody that would strengthen the connection of the Jewish people to the Jewish God. What should I do? Right? What should I do to achieve forgiveness? And the rabbi basically looked at him and he says, well, you did so much to destroy the Jewish people and Jewish religion. You now have to do something to build again the Jewish people and the Jewish religion in a way that it hasn't been before. This particular person was actually called Herod. Herod, as a matter of fact, if you look in history, in Jewish history, Herod is looked at in many ways as a great hero. In Israel today, some of the ancient buildings and some of the ancient landmarks that exist till today were built by Herod. First thing he did was he went to the temple in Jerusalem and he re-renovated the whole temple in Jerusalem. He made it nicer than it ever was before. As a matter of fact, in the Talmud it says, he who has not seen the building of Herod has never seen a beautiful building in his life. It was the most magnificent building, probably in the entire time, even more magnificent than some of the great Roman structures. And as a matter of fact, he built also the building that is on the burial site of the matriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, and Rachel. He built that building as well. And today, if you think Herod, the first thing you think of is this great builder that built the Jewish people, that helped bring the Jewish people to a great, how should I say it? A great state, a great respect that it never had before, right? That's how we would view Herod today. Now, I'm not just telling you the story because I want to share some Jewish teachings. I'm sharing this story because this story is going to tell you the 3 steps to fixing a broken relationship and achieving forgiveness, okay? Now, let's deal with forgiveness from the side of the person who sinned, okay? A person did something wrong. They now want to fix it, okay? Again, this is in a personal relationship, family relationship, spousal relationship, financial relationship. You feel you did something wrong to a person and you want to fix that. There are 3 stages. First, number 1 is you have to verify what is the status of that relationship. Did you misunderstand the very status of that relationship? Perhaps you did, right? It's about what was the relationship. What is the core of the relationship? You need to backtrack and what is the core of the relationship? If you're in a relationship with somebody for business reasons, well, what's the relationship? The relationship is generally, a good business relationship is called a win-win situation where I'm trying to get the other person to make money so that I can also make more money, right? Now, what did I do? Did I break that relationship or not? If you didn't break that relationship, then you don't have to ask for forgiveness, right? Um, for example, if you are in a business relationship and you did everything right, but you didn't buy them flowers on Valentine's Day, well, why should you buy somebody Valentine's Day flowers when you're not in a business relationship? So let's just say the other person is complaining that, hey, you should have bought me flowers on a Valentine's Day. Well, that means that they're looking at it as a Valentine relationship, and you're looking at it as a business relationship. There's a problem here. You can't achieve forgiveness and you can't fix a broken relationship if you and the other person see the relationship in two different ways. You need to know what is the relationship and the fact that both of the people in the relationship realize this is the relationship. That's number one. What is the relationship? Okay. Number two, what did you do wrong? Okay. How did you break that? Right? In a business relationship, I made a deal that made me more money, but and made him money and made me more money, and he's jealous that I made more money than him. That doesn't necessarily mean I broke the relationship. Because my relationship with him was that we both make money. It's not that we both make the exact same amount of money. Now, if we were partners, that might be the truth. If we're partners and I'm coming home with $100,000 a year and he's coming home with $70,000 a year, then we're not equal. At least we're not equal partners, right? But if we're business relationship, we're two businessmen, then why shouldn't I be able to make more money than him? As long as my actions are not harming him from making more money, and as long as my actions are helping the other person make more money, what's the difference if I made more money than him? We're not partners, right? So again, we're going back on the fact we understand the relationship. What is the relationship? And we need to understand clearly what is the basis of the relationship. And then we can see if it was broken. Now, if it was broken, so first of all, you have to make it clear to the other person that you recognize that it was broken and that you don't ever want to do it again. Okay, that's very important. Because the other person's thinking, well, I don't know if I want to be in this relationship because I feel that the relationship was broken. Whatever the terms. I know people don't say, oh, well, there's no terms of relationship. Every relationship has terms. Whether or not your terms and their terms are the same, that happens sometimes. But every time that you enter in a relationship, there are terms. There are certain expectations that you have of that relationship. And if those terms are broken and you feel that the relationship was not the way that you intended it to be, then you are hurt. Now, it could be your fault. Meaning, you could be that the other person didn't want to be in that same type of a relationship, right? But let's just say in some cases where you say, you know what, me and the other person were equal. We understood the relationship and I broke it. I did something that was obviously not meant to be done in that relationship. I have to make it clear to the other person that I understand what I've done wrong, okay? And that I'm never going to do it again. And I realize that if we're going to continue the relationship, I'm never going to do it again. Okay, so that is step number 2, making it clear that you recognize your fault and that if the relationship continues, you will never do it again. Now, a lot of people think that that's it and that's where it's done, but that's not true. There's another third concept that needs to be done if you really want to repair a relationship, and I'm going to mention it in 1 minute. But before I mention it, I just want to reiterate that this is the same thing happening in the relationship between two people or between a person and God, their consciousness, their own personal guilt and conscience, God, whatever you want to call the greater picture, there is also this relationship. And this relationship is exactly the same as a relationship between two people. There's a certain terms, certain expectations that you have towards God and God has towards you. And of course, well, since we don't know God so well, so we can't really know what he expects from us, but we can know what we think he expects from us, right? And if we know what we think he expects from us and we go against that, we then feel guilty, and that is guilt in ourselves, and we want to correct that relationship. And in order to correct that relationship, we have to properly understand what is our relationship with the greater being, the greater good, or the greater whatever. And then we need to admit clearly that in a case that we've broken it, we admit that it was broken and that we are going to fix it. These are very important parts, both when you're dealing with a fellow person or with the greater reality, God, your conscience, your sense of value, your sense of guilt. It is actually the same. Number one, always go back and try to reiterate and re-understand what are the terms of this relationship and how is it that I broke it, and admit that it was broken and that you're going to move forward. I just want to say that a lot of people in a lot of religions, they just make God, oh, God's this all-forgiving guy. Just say, please forgive me, and it's done. I hate to break it to you, but that's not true. It's not true from a real God's perspective. It's also not true from your own perspective. If you just, say, for example, you kill somebody, right? And you say, God, please forgive me. You think God forgives you? I don't think you think that God forgives you. Even if somebody convinced you religiously that God will forgive you, I don't think that you think that God will forgive you, because you'll say, what do you mean I killed a person? What does saying, please forgive me, do anything? Right? Does sorry help? Does saying sorry help? Well, saying sorry helps if the other person realizes that you realize the breach and you accept the breach. So it's important that you actually realize, what did you do wrong? Okay? And how did you break? So first of all, understand the relationship. How did you break it? Now you could admit that you broke it and that you're going to try never to do it again. That's the way it works. Don't believe people when they say easy forgiveness. You're going to go admit it to some, that's also, as a matter of fact, that's why in some religions they have confessions where you go admit it, because admitting that you've done something wrong is important in the relationship. But it's not good enough just to say it. You have to mean it, and you have to actually realize your mistake. Because if you don't realize your mistake, especially when you're dealing with God, you inside know your own truth. And if you know for the truth that you didn't admit it and you didn't really take care of the breach, and you feel that you're going to breach it again, inside you yourself don't feel forgiven by God, which is important, because it's important for you as an individual to feel forgiven by God, by your conscience, by your guilt, etc. And any quick hocus pocus type of action is not going to do it for you. For you, you need to sincerely think, what is the relationship? How did I break it? Admit that you broke it and realize you're never going to do it again. But of course, there's a third concept. And I'm going to give you an example. If somebody, a good friend of yours, you let him in your house all the time, and he comes and you give him beer and you give him food, and you take care of the guy, right? And one day you find your beautiful diamond ring is missing, right? It's worth $2,000. You look on your video cameras and you see that your friend took it, and you approach him and he said, after everything I've done, I've given you the keys to my house. I let you come in and drink beer and party. I give everything for you, right? And I'm happy to, but then you steal from, after all that, you steal from me. That's a breach of the relationship. In such a relationship, when somebody lets you into their house, right? Well, let's just say they let you into their house and they let you in, they say, feel free to eat from the fridge. Well, if you eat from the fridge, that's fine. But if you go into their bedroom and steal their ring, that's a breach of the relationship. That's not what they intended it to you. They didn't invite you into their house so that you can steal things that are important to them. It's not why they let you in. That's a breach of the relationship, right? Now, of course, the person could say, I'm so sorry, I'm terribly sorry. Here's the diamond ring back. I'll give it to you back. I'm never going to do it again. Now, that actually helps some level of forgiveness, but it's not helping ultimate forgiveness. You're not getting to the real crux of the forgiveness, because they might say they're going to forgive you, but will they invite you into their house again? Maybe not. Will they feed you the same way? Will they like you the same way? Probably not. They will always be wondering, okay, well, you know what? I forgave the person, but they might do it again, which means it's not 100% clean. You didn't completely repair the relationship. To completely repair the relationship, you have to do a third step. A third step is what I call going beyond. Going beyond means when you do something in the relationship that basically takes the relationship to such a higher level that the previous relationship kind of doesn't even exist. It's outshadowed by what you do. So for example, you stole a diamond watch that's worth $2,000. Good. You know, the next day when you see the person's car breaks down and they say, I'm sorry, I don't have any money to fix my car. I don't know what I'm going to do. And you say, you know what? Here's $2,000. You give them, not only you gave them back the ring, so you gave them back the ring and that's done, but you additionally gave them $2,000. They're like, wow, that's a good friend, right? Or for example, you know, you forget your wife's birthday, right? So the next anniversary, you buy her flowers that are much nicer than you've bought her in the past. And you take her out to a nicer restaurant. And her next birthday, you buy her a present that you've never given her such a beautiful present in her life. All of a sudden, wow, you've never done this. This is what I call taking the relationship to a new level. If you truly want forgiveness, you always have to take the relationship to a new level by doing something that shows that you're adding to the previous relationship. If not, if you just kind of equalize it, I did something wrong and now I kind of made up for what I did wrong, it's not equal anymore, because in the back of the person who was wrong, in the back of their mind, you may do it again. And therefore they're always thinking, okay, well, we have the same relationship, besides for the fact that I'm a bit wary that you're going to hurt me again in the same way. But if you take it to a new level, it's almost like a new relationship. And therefore the new relationship was never broken. And this is actually the same concept when you're dealing with God and with your own conscience. And this is what Herod did in the story that I told you a little earlier. Herod built the temple anew so that, you know, when anybody thought of Herod, no one even remembered that he was this horrible murderer that killed so many people, because he built Judaism and he built the Jewish pride to a new level that it never had before. And now everybody's thinking of, wow, look what he's done for us, instead of how horrible he was, right? And that is how to achieve the ultimate level of forgiveness, is when you bring it to a new level where the old breach doesn't work. Now, I know it's going a bit long, but I really thank you for staying. And if you haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe. But before you go, I want to share a small thing that I think is very important on the topic as well. We spoke entirely about a person who is wronged, who admits that they're wrong and is trying to repair the relationship. What happens if the other way around? What happens if you are wronged in a relationship? So some people just say, just forgive and that's it, let go. You can't do that. You can't really let go. You can say it and you can believe it and you can try to force it on yourself. But ultimately, if somebody stole from you and they didn't even apologize, you're going to think that they might steal again. You're not going to be able to treat that person the same way you did before. Before, you thought they would never steal from you. Now that they stole from you, you think that they are going to steal from you and you're going to be wary, which means you didn't totally forgive them, right? And it's important to know this. And it's hard, but essentially, if you want to really forgive a person, you have to either rearrange the way you see the whole relationship, right? So for example, you can pity the person. You can pity the person for having this horrible trait that they like stealing. And you can like the person more because of your pity than you did beforehand, but it's a different relationship. You're no longer in the same relationship with them. You're no longer in this equal, we're two nice people living together, working together, friendly together. We're not in that relationship anymore. We're in this relationship where more I might be more involved in the relationship, but for a totally different reason, because I pity the person, because I want to help the person become a better person. But you have to change the relationship. You cannot maintain the same relationship if you cannot maintain the same relationship if you're in a situation where the other person broke the relationship the way you understood it and never asked forgiveness. There's no way you can do it. You could change the relationship and maybe even make it better in some ways, but it won't work. And hopefully at some point, especially if you take on this loving approach and this pity approach and this helping approach, sometimes the person will then give you feedback and say, oh, you know what, I realized I really shouldn't have done this. And then you can rewind and go back. And once they do that, and once they repair themselves, you can try to uh, go back to the original relationship that you had. Well, I thank you so much for watching the entire video. Personally, I probably wouldn't have watched till the end because I don't have enough attention span to watch a video like this for 26 minutes. But if you did, you're definitely better than me at your attention span, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I want you to also please hit the share button and share this on all your social platforms. Make sure to hit subscribe if you didn't do it. And also, please comment below if you have any ideas you want to share with me or with the public that sees the video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.